all these circuits that are in here.
Transistor.
I didn't put a circuit in this book unless it was tested and it worked. If it didn't work, I didn't put it in here.
Nice.
Yeah. Otherwise, what's the point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna need some bulletproof circuits here because I'm getting a coil. We're gonna find out real quick how these things work.
That's a good philosophy.
I'm excited to see your coil.
Well, I'm gonna build two, so I'm gonna find out, and I have an idea for one.
Ooh.
Because I'm gonna make part of it a control coil. So
who we got going on here?
Nice.
How do I present him? Solo.
Oh, that's Mike's battery. There you go.
Yeah,
there we go.
That's my battery
Very
cell.
nice.
It's next week. It'll be 1 month.
Oh,
So
wrong one.
Yeah, wrong one. Oh, dang it.
Come on, man.
We had it.
There we
There
go.
we are.
There you go.
Two of us clicking at once was the problem.
It's okay. We got it.
So it's 4 cells. Next week will be 1 month that it's been running. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of material science, especially with magnesium. And the key to a lot of these cells to make them last is how to stop the oxidation that goes on the plate magnesium. So there's several techniques that I'm working on right now to look very promising. So if that works, I could have this thing running well over a year. So
Wow. How long you said it's been running a month?
it'll be a month next week.
Wow.
Yeah. So like right now, these plates are on the inside, they're completely oxidated. And as you can see, it's still producing power.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the blackness?
What's that? No, actually, it's a hazy, kind of like a hazy white that forms on the magnesium.
On the tips?
So even after it being oxidized, it's still producing power. So what's going on inside is very important. Why this thing is technically, this battery should not be producing any power anymore, but it is. And the question is why? So there's a lot of science, quantum tunneling, Casimir effect, all that's, definitely possible.
Now's the interesting part, Mike. You built a device and now you got to figure out how it's doing and what it's doing.
Well, yeah, because
It's not galvanic, right?
It's not, because if I put my hand on the cell and put a meter up to it, the voltage increases. So I have a thermoelectric conversion happening as well.
That doesn't sound
that's
galvanic
cool.
at all.
Right?
That's so cool.
So if it's not galvanic, how is it oxidizing?
Well, that's
don't
the
know.
big question.
Yeah.
There must be something on there that's very small amount of galvanizing properties are going on there somewhere.
Yeah. So what I'm working on now is how to preserve the magnesium and still put out an ionic charge. If I succeed with that, these cells should last for years. So there's two processes that I'm working on right now that are looking very promising. I don't want to make any claims just yet until I actually have it in operation. But yeah, like if it goes 6 months and it's still putting out full power, I'm definitely on the right track.
You need to do one in a vacuum seal, because maybe there's
iron
particles in the air or something,
Right. So eventually these cells are going to be hermetically sealed. They're actually going to be like super glued together. So if you try to open it, you'll basically destroy the cell. So because if it's completely sealed, it's not getting exposed to oxygen or nitrogen or any of the elements that could have a detrimental effect on what's going on inside. So if you can seal it up and close it in from all the elements, this thing should run for years. Right.
Wow.
So we've kind of outruled galvanic action. when we found out if you put, just your hand on it, the power actually starts to increase. So that shows a thermoelectric conversion.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Right.
not galvanic. When you have a response like that, this because the galvanic response would interfere with a thermal reception like that.
Exactly. It'll actually go down. It's
You
not.
wouldn't be
It's
able to
gonna
get thermal reception when you have a galvanic bacteria.
That's right. That's exactly it. If anything, it would make it worse, but it actually enhances it.
The actual
So-
galvanic reaction has its own heat. That's what I mean.
That's right. That's right. So there's a couple elements in there that are kind of the magic, what goes on inside. So I've been I've basically done like chemistry 101. In the last couple of months is just nothing but reading and reading and reading lab notes and research notes and what other companies are working on, what they're using for their dielectric and solid state and electrolytes, and just pretty much the entire spectrum I'm looking into. So yeah, it's really, really interesting stuff. That's why I've really embraced this, because I see such huge potential with this. So I don't look at this like a battery. It's not a battery. It's actually a solid state generator,
Yeah, generator.
right?
Yeah, that's a 0-point energy generator right there. That's great work. I love it. I think you're really onto something.
So right now I've got, I'm working on plates. They're 12-inch by 12-inch. My new cells are going to be huge. I have enough material right now to make 6 cells. Each cell should be putting over 1 amp. So if you got 6, that's 6 amps at 1.6 volts each. Put them in series, do the math.
Yeah,
Each
that's a
cell is
decent
1 amp at
yeah.
6 volts.
No, each cell puts out 1 amp each. So if you got 6 cells, that's 6 amps. And then 1.6 to 1.7 volts each, times that by 6.
Well, the amps doesn't go up. The amp stays 1 amp. You have to go in parallel to do that, not series. If you want the amps to go up, you have to be in parallel.
Yeah. But
So
either way,
yeah, you're going to have your amp stay 1 amp at 7 volts, so 7 watts.
Yeah, which is not too shabby. You know
No,
what?
it's
The
not.
way I
That's a
look at
good
it,
10 watts for free. You could charge anything with that for free.
exactly. So ultimately, the goal is to hook up, say, 4 car batteries to a 4 kilowatt inverter, and then use these batteries or cells like this to charge those batteries continuously. So
But you could also go in parallel too and get your amps.
you could go any way you want with these. See, with the Hutchison crystal cell,
Parallel
you
and
can't
series.
go in series. You can't go in series with the crystal cells. These things you can. You
Hey,
can
Mike,
multiply the voltage.
have you tried using a boost converter with that?
Well, you would need diodes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
exactly. Now it's kind of weird too. I did hook this up to the scope at one point, and I was getting a back EMF, which I found kind of really interesting.
That
There
is
was a kickback, and there's no coil in it.
You mean
I wonder what it would do. I wonder what it would do with a boost converter. That's it.
It would work. Or even
you get that kickback with a load or without a load? Was it dead short?
Well, I could do a dead short. It would hold.
Was that kickback during the dead short, or was it with a light or a load or something?
Usually with a light or a load, yeah, I would get a back EMF in it. But what's really interesting is there's no coil in it.
Right, no coil. But yeah,
So-
the light,
so
that light has a little
whereas-
coil in it, you know.
Well,
Yeah, but this is different though.
yeah, this
Well,
is different.
everything flies back. All materials. It doesn't have to be a coil. You charge anything in one polarity, you remove that charge, even if it's a flat plate, it's going to reverse charge on you.
Yeah, but
Trust
there
me,
has
right
to
up
be
on this.
something. There has to be some sort of an inductor there in order to create a back
Anything that's
EMF.
polarizable. You remove your polarity from it, it reverses polarity. It doesn't have to be a coil.
Well, you might be right on that. Because
No,
obviously,
I recently, I don't know where I saw this or read it, but I picked it up somewhere.
that's actually really cool to know that because
I don't tend to
yeah,
repeat stuff that I don't, mark down as, affirmative.
see, like if you put these cells under a load, you can draw the power right down to like maybe a half a volt. But the thing is, this light here is 12 volts, and you need 300 milliamps to run it. Okay, so if the cell's totally pulled down, it's totally exhausted. Why is it still working?
Hmm.
Right? Why is it still working? It should be dead.
It could be breathing the moisture in the air or something.
Well, if the magnesium plates on the inside are completely oxidized, this cell should be dead.
Well, no, the oxidization will actually be part of the galvanic activity.
Because since the entire surface of the plate is oxidized, usually you lose it. Like most of the potential's gone.
I mean, isn't
But
that the breakdown of the
it's-
material, the oxidation?
Yeah. It
It's the
starts
same thing as
breaking down.
galvanizing copper and iron. They break it.
The oxidation. It's just corrosion, right?
Right.
But
Corrode each other.
it's still putting out power. It's putting enough power out to run a 300 milliamp light.
Well, oxygen is highly corrosive, Mike. You got to vacuum seal that because
Yeah.
oxygen
that's what
finds
you
a
have to
way.
do.
I mean, it corrodes just about anything.
Yeah. So
Even
that's
the
why I've
stuff
really
that's not
been.
zinc. Maybe zinc is not so easily.
Well, see, a lot of magnesium, if you were to shop for it, you can get magnesium that has a mix, say, like with zinc in it or aluminum, like an alloy, more of an alloy. That will extend the life of the magnesium.
Mhm.
So I try to go for the purest magnesium I can get. And now the trick is to make that magnesium last. So there's a couple of techniques I'm working on right now that look very promising. So
You know who holds that
hopefully
secret? The ancient samurai builders of those swords. They know how to do that with magnesium and carbon and stuff. They mix carbons, like somehow they purify the
It's
carbon. Or
what they do is they dope it. It's like putting a film on it. So I'm coming up with a special film that go over the magnesium, and that will retard or almost completely stop the corrosion process. But the other problem is you got to still make the magnesium reactive. So it has to be able to still transfer, the ions through that medium. So that's what I've been working on. That's kind of like the $6 million question is how to do it. So there's a couple that I'm working on that look very promising. So hopefully when I build the big cell, I'm going to actually use one of those ideas to preserve it, and we'll see what happens.
I mean, from what I understand about biology and, not to get into the medical topics and stuff, but magnesium is very potent for energy production.